Hello friends, like we had promised, we're going to show that from next to the cathedral, which will be right to our right, if you look over here in the city of Béziers, in Provence, you have the street called Rue de la Petite Jerusalem, the street of the small Jerusalem, and it's written also in French that this would be the old Jewish street in Béziers. Now, why is it called the Little Jerusalem? Provence was full of Jewish communities like in Narbonne. We had Lonel, Montpellier, like we saw yesterday, and we had Avignon, that was more part of the Papal States. That would become part of the Papal States later. But Provence was a very important Jewish community because they were in between. They were influenced also by the French rabbis to the north, the Tzarfatim. And don't forget where we're standing right now, it is only some 250 kilometers to the south. You have Barcelona, that would be Catalonia, and the influence of the Spanish rabbis to the south. Now, Béziers, although it wasn't such a famous city, but it had many scholars. We know that Benjamin of Tudela was here. Benjamin of Tudela in his master's Benjamin, the Jewish Marco Polo, was here in 1167, and he mentions a nice community, and even mentions some of the rabbis here by name. We know that Ibn Ezra was here in 1155 because Ibn Ezra had gone. First he went. Ibn Ezra had went to Italy, but he wasn't all over so welcomed. But when he came, he decided in 1155, after he'd finished his commentary on the Tanakh, he wanted to come to Provence for a few years, and he came over here in 1155, and he mentions one of the rabbis here by his name, who's called Rabbi Yitzchak, and he gave him the title of Nasi. That's one of the strongest titles that you could have given to a rabbi at the time. And for a token of appreciation for the hospitality that they gave him here, the Ibn Ezra wrote a book called Sefer Hashem. It's really about a book about the tetragrammaton, the four-lettered word that's Yud Hey Vav Hey, that would make up the name of Hashem. That was in the 1150s. Now, there was another famous rabbi that lived here in the beginning of the 12th century, and he wrote what's called the Sefer Hashlama. That'd be Meshulam ben Moshe. His family he was born and bred here, but his family had came from Lunel. His father had learned together with the Balamur Ezrachi Halevi in Lunel, and he had came here to teach. This Rebbe Shulam, he wrote the Sefer Hashlama, which is really a play on the words because it also has his name, which is Bishulam, and Hashlama means to finish, because he had finished. He had wrote an appendix to the Rif, the Rebbe Yitzchak Alfasi, because the Rif was written the Yitzchak Alfasi wrote his book in a very condensed manner, and he had expanded it a bit. Doesn't always agree, just like the provincial rabbi. Sometimes he would go with the Rashbam, with the Tosafists of France, and sometimes he would side with the Spanish rabbis of the south. Now, the Jews here in Béziers, this area of France, is not talking about the rest of Provence, but actually Béziers, and also a city called here Albi, not far from here. They had a very good relationship with the local inhabitants, because the locals here, named after the town a little further from here called Albi, they were called Albinenses. The Albinenses, they had a different version of Christianity, and they were considered heretics in the eyes of the church. And since that was the case, they also were very benevolent towards the Jewish subjects. Although they didn't agree, there was much difference between them and the Jews. But one thing they had in common is that they didn't like the establishment of Rome and the church. So actually, to give a little hint of what it meant, was in 1160 the terrible custom of stoning the Jews on the Holy Week before Easter was banned in Béziers. That's supposed to show us the token of appreciation that the locals had for the Jewish people. Among other things, they let them also be part of the community and so forth. And the rest I'll explain on a different video.